Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to the English Podcast Circle, your go-to place for improving your English while diving into real-life topics that truly matter.
That's right. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sophia. Today, we're talking about something I know a lot of you will relate to, being confident in writing but scared to speak.
The classic struggle. You can write essays, emails, or even stories in English, but the moment you have to speak, your mind goes blank. Sound familiar?
Or maybe you're fine speaking in front of a mirror, but the second you're talking to someone else, you freeze up. Trust me, you're not alone.
Oh, that's painfully accurate, but here's the good news. You're not alone, and today we're going to break down exactly why this happens and how you can overcome it.
All right, let's start with a question for everyone listening. Think about the last time you felt nervous speaking English. Maybe it was during a presentation, a job interview, or even just ordering food at a restaurant. What was going through your mind?
You were probably thinking, what if I make a mistake? Or what if they don't understand me? Am I right?
Exactly. And those thoughts can be paralyzing. But here's the thing, speaking anxiety is totally normal. And it's something we can work through together.
Yes, and the key is to understand why speaking feels so much harder than writing. When you write, you have time to think, edit, and perfect your sentences. But when you speak, it's instant, no backspace button, no second chances. That pressure can make anyone nervous.
Totally. And let's not forget about the fear of judgment. When you're speaking, you're putting yourself out there, and that can feel scary. But here's the truth. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to judge you.
Exactly, so what do? That's what we're breaking down today, how to work with your fears instead of against them, so you can start speaking with confidence.
Oh, and before we dive in, don't forget we've got a free resource for this episode.
It's more than just a summary. We've added a vocabulary list, speaking exercises, and even a mini challenge to help you practice what you learn.
So, you'll not only overcome your fear of speaking, but also boost your English skills along the way. Grab it from the link in the description.
All right, let's jump in and figure out how to turn I'm scared to speak into I'm ready to talk.
We're diving into Chapter 2, The Psychology of Speaking Anxiety. Alex, why do you think speaking a foreign language can feel so intimidating?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because speaking a new language taps into some deep psychological fears. For one, there's the fear of judgment. We worry that others will think less of us if we make mistakes or don't sound fluent. It's like being on stage without a script.
Yes. And that fear of judgment is often tied to perfectionism. We want to get everything right, the pronunciation, the grammar, the vocabulary. But here's the thing, no one speaks perfectly, not even native speakers. The pressure to be perfect can really hold us back.
Exactly, and then there's self-doubt. We start questioning ourselves, what if I sound silly, or what if they don't understand me? That inner critic can be so loud, it stops us from even trying.
That's so true. And let's not forget about the brain science behind speaking anxiety. When we're speaking a foreign language, our brains are working overtime. We're trying to recall vocabulary, apply grammar rules, and pronounce words correctly all in real time. It's like a mental marathon.
Yes, and here's the interesting part, our brains process speaking and writing differently. When we write, we use the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning and problem solving. That's why writing feels more controlled and less stressful.
But when we speak, we rely more on the Broca's area and Wernicke's area, which are responsible for language production and comprehension. These areas have to work quickly and efficiently, which can feel overwhelming, especially if we're not used to it.
Exactly, and here's another layer, emotional processing. When we're nervous or anxious, our brains release stress hormones like cortisol. This can make it even harder to think clearly and speak fluently. It's like a double whammy.
Yes, but here's the good news, speaking anxiety is normal, and it's something we can work through. The first step is to understand why it happens and to be kind to ourselves. It's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to make mistakes. What matters is that we keep trying.
Absolutely. And here's a tip: reframe your mindset. Instead of thinking, I have to be perfect, tell yourself, I'm here to learn and improve. Every mistake is a step closer to fluency.
Yes, and let's not forget practice makes progress. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So, let's hear from you. What's one thing that makes you anxious about speaking English? Is it fear of judgment, perfectionism, or something else? Share it in the comments and let's support each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a mindset reframing exercise and a speaking anxiety journal to help you work through your fears.
All right, that's it for Chapter 2. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the power of practice, why speaking is a skill. Let's turn that anxiety into action.
We're diving into Chapter 3, the power of practice. Why speaking is a skill. Alex, why do you think speaking is often harder to master than writing?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because speaking is a physical skill, not just a mental one. It's like learning to play a sport or a musical instrument. You can't just read about it, you have to practice it regularly to get better.
Yes, and just like any skill, speaking requires muscle memory. Your mouth, tongue, and vocal cords need to get used to forming new sounds and words. That's why it feels awkward at first. You're literally training your body to do something new.
Exactly, and here's the thing, practice is non-negotiable. You can't become a great speaker by just reading or writing. You have to actually speak, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. It's like going to the gym. You won't see results unless you show up consistently.
That's such a great analogy. And here's something else to remember: even native speakers make mistakes. They stumble over words, forget what they were saying, or use the wrong grammar. It happens to everyone.
Yes, and here's the funny thing, native speakers often don't even notice their own mistakes. They're so focused on communicating their ideas that they don't worry about being perfect. And that's the mindset we need to adopt.
Absolutely. And let's talk about embracing imperfection. When we're learning a new language, mistakes are inevitable. But here's the key: mistakes are not failures. They're opportunities to learn and grow.
Yes, and here's a tip: reframe your mistakes. Instead of thinking, I messed up, tell yourself, I'm one step closer to getting it right. Every mistake is proof that you're trying, and that's something to be proud of.
Love that. And here's another thing: progress is more important than perfection. You don't have to speak flawlessly to communicate effectively. Even if your grammar isn't perfect or your accent is strong, people will still understand you. What matters is that you're making an effort.
Exactly, and here's the best part: the more you practice, the easier it gets. At first, speaking might feel like climbing a mountain, but over time, it becomes more like walking up a hill. You build confidence, fluency, and ease.
Yes, and let's not forget small steps add up. You don't have to practice for hours every day. Even 5 or 10 minutes of speaking practice can make a big difference over time. It's all about consistency.
So, let's hear from you. What's one small step you can take today to practice speaking English? Share it in the comments and let's motivate each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a daily speaking challenge and a progress tracker to help you stay consistent and celebrate your wins.
All right, that's it for Chapter 3. In the next chapter, we'll talk about start small, low-pressure ways to practice speaking. Let's make speaking practice fun and stress-free.
We're diving into Chapter 4, Start Small, Low-Pressure Ways to Practice Speaking. Alex, why do you think starting small is so important for overcoming speaking anxiety?
Great question, Sophia. Starting small is key because it takes the pressure off. When you're just beginning, the idea of having a full conversation in English can feel overwhelming. But if you start with something simple, like talking to yourself, it feels much more manageable.
Yes, and here's the thing: talking to yourself in English is one of the easiest ways to practice. You don't need a partner, and there's no fear of judgment. For example, you can describe your day, talk about what you're doing, or even narrate your thoughts. It's a great way to get comfortable forming sentences.
Exactly, and here's a fun idea: talk to your pet or even your plants. They're great listeners, and they won't judge you if you make a mistake. You can say things like, "What should we do today?" Or "I'm making coffee right now." It's simple, but it gets you speaking.
Love that! And here's another low-pressure way to practice recording yourself speaking. You can talk about a topic you're interested in, read a short passage out loud, or even practice answering common questions like, "Tell me about yourself."
Yes, and here's the best part: when you listen back to the recording, you can identify areas to improve. Maybe you notice you're saying too much, or maybe there's a word you're mispronouncing. It's like being your own teacher.
Absolutely. And don't worry if you don't like the sound of your voice at first, most people don't. But over time, you'll get used to it, and you'll start to hear your progress. It's such a powerful tool for self-improvement.
Yes, and here's another great option: practicing with language apps or AI tools. There are so many apps out there that let you practice speaking in a safe, low-pressure environment. For example, you can use apps like Duolingo, HelloTalk, or Elsa Speak to practice pronunciation and have conversations with AI chatbots.
Yes, and the beauty of these tools is that they're available 24/7. You can practice anytime, anywhere, without worrying about making mistakes. Plus, many of them give you instant feedback, which is super helpful.
Exactly, and here's a tip: set a daily speaking goal. It could be as simple as, "Today, I'll talk to myself for 5 minutes," or "I'll record myself answering one question." Small, consistent practice is the key to building confidence.
Yes, and let's not forget progress is progress, no matter how small. Even if you only practice for a few minutes today, that's a step in the right direction. Over time, those small steps will add up to big improvements.
So, let's hear from you. What's one small way you'll practice speaking English today? Will you talk to yourself, record yourself, or try a language app? Share it in the comments, and let's inspire each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a daily speaking challenge and a progress tracker to help you stay consistent and celebrate your wins.
All right, that's it for Chapter 4. In the next chapter, we'll talk about Find Your Speaking Buddy, the role of accountability. Let's make speaking practice a team effort.
We're diving into Chapter 5, Find Your Speaking Buddy, the role of accountability. Alex, why do you think having a speaking buddy or joining a group is so helpful for learning English?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because accountability works. When you know someone else is counting on you, cheering you on, it's harder to skip your practice. It's like having a workout buddy. You're more likely to show up if someone's waiting for you.
Yes, and it's not just about pressure, it's also about support. When you're part of a community or have a speaking buddy, you're not alone in your journey. You can share your struggles, celebrate your wins, and learn from each other.
Exactly, and here's the thing: practicing with someone at a similar level can be especially helpful. You're both learners, so you understand each other's challenges. There's no pressure to be perfect, and you can grow together.
Yes, and let's talk about how to find a language partner or join a speaking group. Alex, do you have any tips?
Absolutely. One of the easiest ways is to join online communities. There are so many Facebook groups, Reddit threads, and Discord servers dedicated to English learners. You can find people at your level, share resources, and even practice together.
Yes, and if you prefer something more structured, you can use language exchange apps like Tandem, HelloTalk, or Speaky. These apps connect you with native English speakers who are learning your language, so you can help each other out.
That's a fantastic option, and if you're more of an in-person learner, check out local meetups or language schools in your area. Many cities have English conversation clubs where you can practice speaking with others in a relaxed, supportive environment.
Love that! And don't forget about social media. Platforms like Instagram and YouTube have amazing English learning communities. You can follow teachers, join live sessions, and even connect with other learners in the comments.
Yes, and here's another idea: create your own accountability group. If you have a few friends who are also learning English, start a weekly check-in. You can share your goals, practice together, and motivate each other to keep going.
That's such a great way to stay consistent. And here's the key: make the most of your conversation practice. Set clear goals for each session, like practicing a specific topic or focusing on pronunciation. And don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Yes, and here's a tip: keep it fun and relaxed. You don't have to stick to serious topics all the time. Talk about your hobbies, your favorite movies, or even your weekend plans. The more you enjoy the conversation, the more you'll learn.
Absolutely. And let's not forget mistakes are part of the process. Don't be afraid to make them. Your speaking buddy is there to help you, not judge you. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve.
So, let's hear from you. Do you have a speaking buddy or belong to a speaking group? If not, what's one step you'll take today to find one? Share it in the comments and let's support each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a guide to finding language partners and communities, as well as a conversation practice checklist to help you make the most of your sessions.
All right, that's it for Chapter 5. In the next chapter, we'll talk about overcoming the fear of mistakes. Let's learn how to turn mistakes into opportunities.
We're diving into Chapter 6, Overcoming the Fear of Mistakes. Alex, why do you think so many learners are afraid of making mistakes when speaking English?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because we're often taught that mistakes are bad. We worrying about being judged, sounding silly, or not being good enough, but the truth is, mistakes are a natural part of learning, especially when it comes to language.
Yes, and here's the thing: when we let the fear of mistakes stop us from practicing, we're actually holding ourselves back. It's like saying, I won't walk until I know I won't fall, but the only way to learn is to take those first wobbly steps.
Exactly, and here's the key: mistakes are how we learn. Every time you make a mistake, your brain is figuring out what works and what doesn't. It's like a feedback loop that helps you improve.
That's such a great way to look at it. And here's another thing: native speakers make mistakes too. Even in their own language, people stumble over words, forget what they were saying, or use the wrong grammar. It happens to everyone.
Yes, and here's the funny thing: native speakers often don't even notice their own mistakes. They're so focused on communicating their ideas that they don't worry about being perfect. And that's the mindset we need to adopt.
Absolutely. And let's talk about reframing mistakes. Instead of thinking, I messed up, tell yourself, I'm one step closer to getting it right. Every mistake is proof that you're trying, and that's something to be proud of.
Yes, and here's a tip: celebrate your mistakes. When you make a mistake and someone corrects you, thank them and write it down. It's like collecting golden nuggets of knowledge. Over time, those corrections will help you improve.
Love that! And here's a real-life example. When I was learning Spanish, I once accidentally said estoy embarazada instead of estoy avergonzada. I thought I was saying, I'm embarrassed, but I actually said, I'm pregnant. It was so embarrassing at the time, but now it's a funny story, and I'll never forget the correct word.
That's hilarious, and here's another example. When I was learning French, I kept mixing up heures happy and horror. I once told my friend, je suis horror, instead of je suis heureux. They laughed, but it helped me remember the difference forever.
Yes, mistakes like these are memorable, and they stick with us. They're not failures, they're stepping stones to fluency. And the more you practice, the fewer mistakes you'll make over time.
Exactly, and here's the best part: mistakes can actually help you connect with others. When you're brave enough to speak, even if it's not perfect, people appreciate your effort. It shows that you're trying, and that's what really matters.
So, let's hear from you. What's one mistake you've made while learning English, and what did you learn from it? Share it in the comments, and let's normalize making mistakes together.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a mistake tracking worksheet to help you reflect on your errors and turn them into learning opportunities.
All right, that's it for Chapter 6. In the next chapter, we'll talk about build confidence through preparation. Let's learn how to feel more prepared and confident in conversations.
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because preparation gives us a sense of control. When we know what to expect and have some phrases or ideas ready, it takes away a lot of the anxiety. It's like having a safety net. You're not going in blind.
Yes. And here's the thing, preparation doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as learning a few common phrases or thinking about topics you might discuss. For example, if you're going to a job interview, you can prepare answers to common questions like, "Tell me about yourself," or "What are your strengths?"
Exactly, and here's a tip: focus on high-frequency phrases. These are phrases that come up often in conversations, like "How's it going?" or "What do you think about?" If you have a few of these in your back pocket, you'll feel more ready to jump into a conversation.
Yes, and let's not forget about role-playing. This is such a powerful tool for building confidence. You can practice common scenarios with a friend, a language partner, or even by yourself. For example, pretend you're ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions.
Yes, role-playing helps you get used to the flow of a conversation and think on your feet. And here's the best part: you can make mistakes in a safe environment and learn from them before the real thing.
Absolutely. And here's another way to prepare: use writing as a tool. Before a conversation, you can write down key phrases, questions, or even a mini script. For example, if you're nervous about a phone call, write down what you want to say and practice reading it out loud.
Yes, writing helps you organize your thoughts and gives you a chance to double-check your grammar and vocabulary. And once you've written something, you can use it as a reference during the conversation. It's like having cheat notes.
Love that. And here's a tip: rehearse out loud. It's not enough to just think about what you'll say. You need to actually say the words to get comfortable with them. It's like practicing for a play. The more you rehearse, the more natural it will feel.
Yes, and here's another idea: record yourself. After you've practiced, record yourself speaking and listen back. This helps you catch any mistakes and improve your pronunciation. Plus, it's a great way to track your progress over time.
Absolutely. And let's not forget, preparation builds confidence, but it's okay to improvise too. You don't have to stick to your script word for word. The goal is to feel prepared, not robotic.
So, let's hear from you. What's one way you'll prepare for your next English conversation? Will you role play, write a script, or practice common phrases? Share it in the comments and let's inspire each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a conversation preparation checklist and a role-playing guide to help you feel ready and confident.
Alright, that's it for Chapter 7. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the role of listening in improving speaking. Let's learn how listening can make you a better speaker.
We're diving into Chapter 8, the role of listening in improving speaking. Alex, why do you think listening is such a powerful tool for becoming a better speaker?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because listening is like the foundation of speaking. When you listen to native speakers, you're absorbing the rhythm, pronunciation, and natural flow of the language. It's like having a model to follow.
Yes, and here's the thing: listening helps you internalize the language. The more you listen, the more familiar you become with common phrases, sentence structures, and even slang. It's like filling your brain with building blocks for speaking.
Exactly, and one of the best ways to improve your speaking is by listening to podcasts, movies, or songs. These are not only fun and engaging but also packed with real-life language. For example, podcasts can teach you how to have natural conversations, while movies and songs can introduce you to different accents and expressions.
Yes, and here's a tip: choose content that interests you. If you love cooking, listen to a cooking podcast. If you're into sports, watch a sports commentary. When you're interested in the topic, you're more likely to stay engaged and learn naturally.
Absolutely, and here's another powerful technique: mimicking native speakers. This is where you listen to someone speaking and try to copy their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. It's like shadowing their speech to train your mouth and ears.
Yes, mimicking is such a great way to improve your pronunciation and fluency. For example, you can listen to a short clip from a movie or podcast, pause it, and repeat what the speaker said. Try to match their tone and speed as closely as possible.
Exactly, and here's the best part: mimicking helps you sound more natural. Over time, you'll start to pick up the subtle nuances of the language, like how to stress certain words or how to link sounds together. It's like training your brain and mouth to work together.
Yes, and let's not forget about the connection between listening comprehension and speaking confidence. When you understand what others are saying, you feel more confident responding. It's like having a conversation where you're not just guessing, you're truly engaged.
Exactly, and here's a tip: practice active listening. When you're listening to something in English, try to focus on understanding the main ideas and key details. You can even take notes or summarize what you heard. This will not only improve your comprehension but also give you more to talk about.
Yes, and here's another idea: use subtitles strategically. If you're watching a movie or TV show, start with subtitles in your native language, then switch to English subtitles, and finally try watching without any subtitles. It's a great way to challenge yourself and improve your listening skills step by step.
Absolutely, and let's not forget listening builds vocabulary. When you hear new words in context, you're more likely to remember them and use them in your own speaking. It's like learning by osmosis.
So, let's hear from you. What's your favorite way to practice listening? Do you prefer podcasts, movies, or songs? Share it in the comments, and let's inspire each other.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a listening practice guide and a mimicking exercise to help you improve your speaking through listening.
All right, that's it for Chapter 8. In the next chapter, we'll talk about celebrate small wins, track your progress. Let's learn how to stay motivated by celebrating every step forward. We're diving into Chapter 9, celebrate small wins, track your progress. Alex, why do you think it's so important to celebrate small wins when learning to speak English?
Great question, Sophia. I think it's because learning a language is a long journey, and if we only focus on the big goals like fluency, it can feel overwhelming. Celebrating small wins keeps us motivated and reminds us that we're making progress, even if it's gradual.
Yes, and here's the thing: small wins add up. Every time you achieve a small goal, like saying 3 sentences in English or learning a new phrase, you're one step closer to fluency. It's like building a brick wall, one brick at a time.
Exactly, and here's a tip: set small, achievable speaking goals. For example, you could say, "Today, I'll introduce myself in English," or "I'll practice saying 3 sentences about my day." These goals are simple, but they keep you moving forward.
Yes, and here's another idea: make your goals specific and measurable. Instead of saying, "I'll practice speaking," say, "I'll have a 2-minute conversation with a friend," or "I'll record myself speaking for 5 minutes. This way, you know exactly what success looks like.
Absolutely, and here's the best part: celebrate every win, no matter how small. Did you learn a new word? Celebrate. Did you have a short conversation in English? Celebrate. These little victories keep you motivated and build momentum.
Yes, and here's a fun way to celebrate: reward yourself. It could be something simple, like treating yourself to your favorite snack or taking a moment to feel proud of yourself. Rewards make the process more enjoyable and give you something to look forward to.
Love that, and here's another powerful tool: keep a speaking journal. This is where you write down your goals, track your progress, and reflect on your improvements. For example, you could write, "Today, I practiced introducing myself. I felt nervous, but I did it."
Yes, a speaking journal is such a great way to see how far you've come. Over time, you'll look back and realize, wow, I couldn't even say a full sentence before, and now I can have a conversation. It's incredibly motivating.
Exactly, and here's a tip: be consistent with your journal. Even if you only write 1 sentence a day, it's enough to track your progress. You can also use it to note down new words, phrases, or mistakes you want to work on.
Yes, and let's not forget progress is progress, no matter how small. Even if you only practiced for 5 minutes today, that's 5 minutes closer to your goal than you were yesterday. Every step counts.
So, let's hear from you. What's one small speaking goal you'll set for yourself today? Share it in the comments, and let's celebrate each other's wins.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a speaking journal template and a progress tracker to help you stay consistent and motivated.
Alright, that's it for Chapter 9. In the next chapter, we'll talk about your action plan. Start speaking today. Let's turn those small wins into big progress.
We've reached our final chapter, your action plan. Start speaking today. Alex, let's start by summarizing what we've learned so far.
Absolutely, Sophia. Over the past 9 chapters, we've covered so much. Why writing feels easier than speaking and how to bridge the gap. The psychology of speaking anxiety and how to overcome it. Why speaking is a skill that requires practice. Low-pressure ways to start speaking, like talking to yourself or using apps. 5. The power of accountability through speaking buddies or groups. 6. How to embrace mistakes as opportunities to learn. 7. Building confidence through preparation and role-playing. 8. The role of listening in improving speaking skills. 9. Celebrating small wins and tracking your progress. And now, it's time to put it all into action.
Yes, the key to overcoming speaking anxiety is to start small and stay consistent. So, let's create a simple, actionable plan that you can start today. Alex, what's the first step?
The first step is to commit to just 5 minutes. That's it, just 5 minutes of speaking practice today. It could be talking to yourself, recording a short audio, or having a quick conversation with a friend. The goal is to take that first step.
Yes, and here's a specific example. Today, I'll have a 2-minute conversation with a friend or record myself speaking about my day. It's simple, but it gets you started. And once you start, you'll often find yourself doing more.
Exactly, and here's another idea. Today, I'll listen to a short English clip and repeat what I hear. Mimicking native speakers is a great way to practice pronunciation and fluency.
Love that! And if you're feeling a bit more ambitious, you could try. Today, I'll role-play a common scenario, like ordering food or introducing myself. It's a fun way to practice real-life situations.
Yes, and here's the key: track your progress. Use a notebook, an app, or even a sticky note to mark each day you practice. Seeing that streak grow can be incredibly motivating.
Absolutely. And don't forget to celebrate your wins. Did you practice for 5 minutes today? That's a win. Did you learn a new phrase? That's a win. Every small step counts.
And here's one more tip: plan for tomorrow. At the end of today's practice, decide what you'll do tomorrow. It could be as simple as, tomorrow, I'll listen to a podcast for 5 minutes. Having a plan makes it easier to stay consistent.
Yes, and remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Even if you only practice for 5 minutes today, that's 5 minutes closer to your goal than you were yesterday.
So, let's hear from you. What's one small step you'll take today to start speaking English? Share it in the comments, and let's hold each other accountable.
And don't forget to grab the free resource we mentioned earlier. It includes a daily action plan template and a progress tracker to help you stay on track.
Alright, that's it for Chapter 10 and for this series. We hope these tips help you stop procrastinating and start making real progress in your English speaking journey.
Yes, remember, every big goal starts with a small step. So, what are you waiting for? Take that first step today, and let's make it happen.
Thanks for joining us on the English Chat Lab. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. You've got this.